Hello. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. I have a really interesting talk for you guys today. But before we begin, first hop into the chat, say hello. We're going to be doing a breathing exercise to reconnect, to come away from everything that happened today, this week, this year, even, so that we can be full here. Just going to quickly clean my camera. But hop into the chat, say hello. And while you do that, we're going to be doing some breathing exercises. So take a deep breath in and just be open to receiving all that you'll receive today. And on the exhale, tracing your exhale from the crown of your head all the way down to your feet. This is a great grounding technique. So take another deep breath in, filling your lungs completely, being open and receptive to this talk today and your entire day. And on the exhale, tracing your exhales from the crown of your head all the way down to the soles of your feet. And do that one more time on your own time. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. I see some people in the chat. Hola. ¿Cómo estás? You might hear some barking today. I am dog sitting, so I've got two dogs and they both are obsessed with being next to me. So they're right underneath my feet. They may be moving my desk and moving some things, so that's just something to be aware of. How are we feeling today? How are we feeling about Mint Mind? I've been doing some crafting. Really excited about some of the things I'm going to be dropping here soon. And it's all going to be to support you with the holidays. That has been my focus. I've actually missed dropping a full-length video last week because it's been so much of my focus is getting this looking right and looking well. How are you feeling about the holidays as well? This is a great time to kind of check in and see how you've been feeling. A lot of the times, especially around the holidays, we're go, go, go. It's nice to take a stop, take a pause, check in and see how you are doing. I see a comment, been loving the fruit from this channel in my life. Sending big hearts your way, big hearts your way. So happy to be of service. And today I've got a talk on abundance in your nervous system. And this is really important, specifically around the holidays, because it can be very emotionally dysregulating. Which is so funny because when you think about the holidays, you think about spending time with family, getting a lot of love, a lot of hugs, right? These are things that can really regulate your nervous system. But then there are also the expectations. There are so many things that come with the holidays, your long list that creates stressors, feeling like you haven't done enough, right? Or maybe you've overextended yourself. So let's get into the nervous system. What I want to start with here is that the nervous system does not care about wealth or success or scaling your business, which is a great place to start, right? And I'm going to hold your hand while I say all this, right? The nervous system does not care about your wealth, success, scaling your business. It only cares about one focus, and that's to keep you safe, to keep you out of harm, and to tell you when you are being threatened, right? It will constantly bring you back to that place of safety, to that place of familiarity for your survival. And I think having that perspective is our nervous system doesn't care about all the things that we're doing to scale our business or to have more money or to steep in states of abundance. And this is something, especially if you're into manifestation, something that will give you a nice shakeup. Your nervous system specifically only cares about keeping you safe. So we're going to go deeper into that. But before we do, let's talk about things that dysregulate our nervous system. Because we probably think, bear in the woods, evolution, fight or flight response. And though it is fight or flight response, it looks different from our day to day. Now that we are quote unquote civilized human beings, we've got our 9 to 5s, whatever that may be. Maybe we have our own businesses, maybe we're creatives. We still are experiencing things that feel threatening and might feel as threatening as the bear in the woods or the lion in the woods, whatever the thing is. Anyway, any state of fear is going to be dysregulating, right? In a state of fear, your brain is wired to take in information as quick as possible. This is just kind of the side note to get you to safety. And so in states of fear, we create a narrative quickly. And that narrative is for our own survival. So we might not necessarily be seeing things the way that they're actually really happening in states of fear. States of comparison is an example of a fear state. Lack mentality, which a lot of us might be feeling on the daily, right? Comparison, lack mentality is also a fear state. Specifically around the holidays, feelings of inadequacy and not being enough. And inauthenticity, a fear state, feeling like we have to wear a mask. People aren't going to accept us for the way that we just really want to show up. These are small little states of fear. And throughout your day, you might be accumulating micro triggers, right? So little things that are triggering the stress response throughout your day. So maybe it's not one big thing. Maybe it's not the bear in the woods, right? Maybe it's not feeling like the bear in the woods, but lots of little creatures, lots of little snakes in the woods is going to feel like a bear in the woods. So maybe you can think about your day-to-day, whatever your day-to-day looks like for you. What are those micro triggers, those little triggers triggering the stress response? And by the end of the day, how many micro triggers do you have? Maybe it's the sensation of white knuckling through your day, right? Rather than being present, it's how can I just get through this? The great thing about the body is that the body takes score and it never forgets. So it will tell you. It will tell you when it's dysregulated. And maybe that's a tensing in the body. Maybe it's holding your breath or a shallow breathing. This is a big telltale sign. It also could be emotional flatness or a numbness and exhaustion or fatigue. Maybe even anxiety, chronic anxiety. So even though it's not a bear in the woods, there are still multiple times throughout the day where we might be getting dysregulated. And this is, first and foremost, we want awareness. Because if something's happening only in the subconscious mind, we can't bring it to awareness, then it creates this pattern, right? We want to bring it into awareness. In fear, it limits your ability to have access to certain brain networks that are required to imagine, to create, to manifest. You can't create in a state of fight or flight. That's really important to know. In manifestation, you are imagining, right? And even with parts of your business that you want to build or scale or do differently or innovate, it's hard to think that way. It's hard to access parts of your mind when you're in a state of fight or flight. Your nervous system also works from a place of memory. Experiences that have happened in the past that told your nervous system what is safe and what is not, right? So your nervous system is this familiar? Do we know how to manage this? Do we know how to work with this? And if it's not familiar, it can be scary. And that will dysregulate the nervous system. And I want to go a little deeper into this. Even if something is not safe traditionally, right? The familiarity of it is safe because you know how to manage it, you know how to deal with it. So, for example, even if you grew up in poverty, you could subconsciously be keeping yourself in low income work because your nervous system had enough experiences as a child to know how to navigate that. There is safety in the familiarity of it because you know what to do with it. So just take a moment and reflect on your life, right? Are there things that might not necessarily be safe traditionally, but there is safety in the familiarity of it? Maybe it's relationships. Maybe it's certain ways of connecting with people. Maybe it's certain habits. Specifically, those things, those patterns that you want to break or move out of that feel like it's really difficult to break no matter how much you try. It seems like it's just this perpetual cycle. Is there safety in the familiarity of it, even if you don't want it? Also, on the flip side of that, even though there's been, let's say in our example, unsafe elements of poverty, right? Success and wealth could be the real threat if the unknown feels like it's a bigger threat than what you want to move out of. So think about all the things that you want to manifest. Does that feel like in your nervous system, is your nervous system, mind and body might be different here? Is your nervous system feeling like it's a bigger threat than staying in your comfort zone? Because if your nervous system is feeling like it's experiencing a threat, even if your mind says, no, 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 everything's okay, if your nervous system feels like it's experiencing a threat, it will always bring you back to the safety of the familiar. And so, what does it look like to have, you know, what does it look like for the body to respond to threats when it comes to business? What does it look like in our business? Maybe fight is doing more, fighting harder, never feeling enough. Maybe flight is feeling like overthinking, perfectionism, constant change, or abandoning. Maybe freeze is feeling more like, you're shutting down in your business, you're not taking action in your business. And maybe fawn is undercharging, overgiving, energy imbalance, leaving you exhausted. These are just some examples of what it could look like in your business, coming from a place of dysregulation. Um, Talking about how beliefs communicate something to your nervous system about what is safe and what is not. And that's why working as a hypnotherapist, it's so important to get down to the nitty gritty of what these baseline beliefs are. Maybe number one, spiritual people can't be wealthy. I have to be like Buddha and I've got to come away from all my possessions. That's a big one. Maybe wealth comes from greed and I want to be humble, right? The idea of being greedy, if you're associating abundance with greed, can dysregulate your nervous system. Wealthy people have too much responsibility and spotlight. I'm going to have more on my shoulders with more money. Everyone is always talking about how terrible the rich are. Maybe it's I feel bad my parents or the people around me struggle, and so I have to struggle with them. I've got to endure this with them. Or maybe that's the root belief of, I'm not good with money or money hates me. Maybe it's I hate what money does to people. Money corrupts. So around money specifically, I know we're talking about abundance in total, but just money specifically, what root beliefs do you have that have been dysregulating your nervous system? Remember, your nervous system will always bring you back to the safety of the familiar if what it's experiencing is a threat. So if you have some of these root beliefs, right? I'm not good with money, money hates me, money corrupts people. It will constantly bring you back to the safety of the familiar. And the great thing about hypnotherapy, and really just reframe in general, is the power of reframe compounds. So, for example, a lot of these shifts could be wealth in the right hands could shift the world for the better, right? This is a great antidote for spiritual people can't be wealthy. Wealth in the right hands could shift the world for the better. Another reframe, wealth comes from greed. I want to be humble. It's safe to receive abundance. And developing the skills to hold the responsibilities and recognition comes with that. Money loves me. Every dollar I spend comes to me tenfold. Specifically for, I feel bad that my parents or the people around me struggle with money, so I feel I must struggle with them. Every underprivileged ancestor before me wants abundance for me. See how one is coming from a fear mindset. And remember, states of fear dysregulate the nervous system. And then the reframe isn't coming from a fear mindset, right? It's coming from an opening. It's coming from an unfolding. It's coming from a state of positivity, a state of ease. And this is the thing with reframe. It genuinely has to be, you can step yourself into it. Going from one end of the spectrum, depending on how long you've had some of these root beliefs, to the other end of the spectrum, might not be sustainable. Maybe you can do it, but you're going to need a lot of energy to do it, for it to sustain, for it to hold, for it to sink its roots in. So don't be afraid to pace yourself. Maybe you're not at the place where you can say, money loves me and every dollar I spend comes to me tenfold, even though repetition definitely works, but you can take steps into it. Me and my relationship with money is healing, right? Is a step in the right direction. So if you change your beliefs, you're shifting your identity, and you can create a new identity that feels safe enough to step into the amount of abundance you want to call in. I'll say that again. Changing your beliefs shifts your identity, and a new identity that feels safe enough to step into the amount of abundance you want to call in. Do you feel safe stepping into that amount of abundance you want to call in? And if not, how can we shift some of these negative beliefs that have been holding you in this old identity into a reframe to step into a new identity that does feel safe enough to receive? So going a little deep into this and kind of doing a little bit of a summary and a recap. Awareness, first and foremost. How does my body tell me it isn't safe? What are the stress responses that I sense? Am I getting a sense of tensing? Is my breathing shallow? Am I holding my breath sometimes? Am I white knuckling through my day? How many micro triggers are stacking up on top of each other throughout my day, triggering my stress response? Maybe it's little things, but at the end of the day, it can feel like a big bear when you're looking at all of those little things together. We talked about different types of fear states. Remember, fear states are triggering the nervous system. And fear states could be very simple. States of comparison is a fear state. Lack mentality, fear state. Feelings of inadequacy or not being enough. Inauthenticity is a fear state. So awareness, how does my body tell me it isn't safe, and what are the stress responses I sense? We can talk about some ways to regulate the nervous system. As simple as breath, right? You wouldn't be taking deep breaths if you were in the jungle with a lion. So breath itself is communicating to the body, we are safe, right? That's what the conversation is. We are safe. We must be safe because we're breathing, and we're breathing deeply. Any kind of movement, exercise, shaking off the energy. Pulling yourself into the moment and using your senses to ground you, right? So when you're in a state of fight or flight, you're just grabbing whatever you can visually to create a narrative to protect you, to keep you safe. You're not actually taking your time. There is no bliss, there is no pleasure. So if you can invite that, if you can use all of your senses, maybe that's aromatherapy, maybe that's feeling a certain texture, right? Maybe it's a heat or a warmth or a coolness. Maybe it's getting out in the sun and feeling that. Igniting your senses. Doing some deeper inner child work also, working on experiences in childhood that made you believe certain things about yourself today, about money, about wealth, about what it means to be wealthy, about wealthy people. And some things that also will help specifically with abundance. If you have fear around, I don't use my money wisely, I don't know much about money, financial literacy, learning about money, taking time to learn about money. And also visualization. Visualization is important for manifestation because you're practicing being the version of yourself, that abundance, that's receiving that abundance, that's becoming more familiar, more safe receiving that abundance. And you can see yourself receiving that abundance, that money, and you know what to do with it when you do receive it. Just a side note, you can't force yourself to relax, but you can train your mind and body to. Going back to what we were discussing with micro triggers triggering the stress response throughout your day, small little things that compound over time. How are we going to combat that, right? We don't need to wait until they're all the big bear. When there's small little snakes in the woods, what are we doing? What are our favorite nervous system reset practices? How can we do that throughout our day so we're not white knuckling through our day? So a way that we can train ourselves is looking at high stress situations. And you'll have to choose some of these specifically and bring more intention to it, especially when you're trying to train the mind and body. But even looking at videos of, if you are afraid of heights, right? Looking at videos of people who are on skyscrapers, tall buildings, out on their balcony, tightrope walking even, and just videos, right? Videos are still, the subconscious mind doesn't know what is real or what is fake. It's taking everything as real. So you'll notice your maybe heartbeat racing. Maybe you'll notice a state of anxiety, fight or flight, whatever it may be, even by just watching a video. That's why it's really important to focus on or bring intention into the movies that you watch, because the subconscious mind does not know the difference. And you'll notice that by how you feel within your body, especially when you're watching scary movies, right? Sometimes we like that. Sometimes we like a little bit of a thrill. But training your nervous system, watching people tightrope walking, right? In the middle of New York, the skyscrapers, it's going to trigger a stress response, and taking time to tend to the nervous system in that response, right? We're okay. Deep breath, bringing you back into the body, right? Rather than jumping out of the body, bringing you back into the body. Rather than freezing the body, creating a little bit of movement here. Tapping into your 5 senses. What are we smelling? What does this feel like? right? This will help you retrain your brain and your body even when you are in a really difficult conversation at work where you got to give some kind of big meeting, or if you're a public speaker and you're getting trying to get better at public speaking. Whatever the line is for you throughout your day, this will be a great practice, because anytime your body feels that state, if you're training yourself, anytime your body feels that heightened state, you can say, okay, I'm immediately going to go into how can I tend to my nervous system? How can I regulate my nervous system? What are my favorite nervous system regulation techniques? Relaxing your nervous system in intense, high stress situations. And there's this term, relaxed vigilance, that I love. It's being vigilant. You are aware, but you're also relaxed in your awareness, right? I see all of these things going on, but it's not going to cause me to retreat so far back into myself, and it's not going to cause me to jump out of my body. I can be here in my body in this stress situation, watching this happen, right? Then you get to a place of where you can respond rather than react. Lots of things in our relationships cause us to dysregulate our nervous system. And then we get into a state of reacting, right? Which can add more fire to the fire. This will be a great technique. Training your body in high stress situations to tend to your nervous system to come back to self will help you respond in your relationships, and that will strengthen them. So just a couple of reflection questions here, since we are getting close to the end of the time. Number one, if you're big in journaling, these are going to be great. What limiting beliefs do you have around money, right? This is point blank, this is easily asked. What beliefs do you have around wealthy people? How do these limiting beliefs benefit or protect you? How does your nervous system use these limiting beliefs in order to keep you in a place of comfort, in the place of your comfort zone? What micro triggers are triggering your stress response during the day? What micro triggers are triggering your stress response during the day? What parts of your day to day are you white knuckling through or stress marathoning? Does what you're manifesting and calling in feel like a threat? And in every situation, this is a great reflection question. How does your nervous system feel? How does my nervous system feel? Do I feel safe enough to receive? And how can I feel safe to receive more? Specifically with manifesting and calling in abundance. I see lots of comments here in the chat. Absolutely agree. Been there. Totally. Sending so much love you guys' way. Hop into the chat. How was this talk for you? Are you able to walk away with anything that's beneficial, useful, and practical for your day to day? That's what I want to make sure that I'm leaving you here with. Practical tools, practical ideas to think about, things to reflect on, to enrich your day to day. Also, if you're needing anything from Mint Mind, feel free to hop into the chat and let me know. All of these are great reflections. Absolutely perfect. Thank you. You're so welcome. You're so welcome. It's so nice to connect with you. I'm sending love to your way and to everybody who's watching this recording. Wishing abundance for you, wishing blessings for you, and most importantly, wishing that you're tending to your nervous system, taking care of that thing. It's definitely telling you where there's a threat and where there's not. And it can be very beneficial if you bring awareness day to day, moment to moment, to focus, how is this affecting me? How is this affecting my nervous system, my body? My name is Mariah. I'm the creator of Mint Mind. Sending you guys so much love. And I have another live that I'll be doing next Wednesday at 11:30 Eastern time. All right. Logging off here. Bye.